building, with reports of 100,000 new homes being blocked by the impact of the guidance. Chris, I think this is something that you've been looking at. Could you remind us about the background to this?
Yeah, Natural England is seeking to protect endangered waters around the country. It wants to do that by introducing guidance to limit nutrients that impact the water, particularly nitrates and phosphates, which can act as an accelerant for certain types of plants that disrupt the natural world. Basically, nitrates cause plant life in waters to bloom. That's not a good thing because the extra plant life, it takes all the oxygen out of the water, and that can really destabilize these protected waters with rare wildlife.
Okay, so there's a problem and they're seeking to prevent it getting worse. Is that right?
Yes.
And how does their guidance seek to prevent the problem?
Well, they object to plans that create unfavorable conditions due to excess nutrients on these sites. So if you have a planning application and it's found to increase the nitrates that flow into protected waters, they will object. The advice restricts to 74 councils. This was increased after the advice was extended to an additional 42 councils in March. The councils are also bunched together into catchment areas. So you've got things like Solent, Herefordshire, Kent, Somerset, Cornwall, for example. And anything within those areas have to fulfill the advice of Natural England, I guess.
They have to follow the Natural England advice, which basically says that if your scheme is going to worsen the water quality in these protected areas, then it can't go ahead without suitable mitigation.
Exactly, yeah. And that's causing a bit of a blockage at the moment.
Okay. And why is it that building a house can worsen the nutrient levels?
Well, as one councillor put it to me, you wouldn't buy a house without a toilet. So I think a lot of what we create on a day-to-day basis might end up flowing into protected waters.
But the reason why this story's had some additional coverage this week is that the Home Builders Federation have done a survey which tries to put a number on the amount of homes affected. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. They say now that up to 100,000 houses are being delayed for a variety of reasons, but essentially because of this advice.
Okay, so 100,000 homes, I guess. Yeah, so flats and will be included as well. So what do they include in these figures?
Well, the figures are basically from this second tranche. The original 7 catchment areas had already impacted 60,000 homes. I'm presuming, I don't know the details of this yet, but I'm presuming those originals were selected because they were the most vulnerable. And the new catchment areas are bringing in another 40,000 homes onto the delay table, I guess. So now it's a nice even 100,000 homes.
Okay, and they're saying that if you add up the amount of decisions that can't be taken to allocate a site for housing in a local plan.
Yeah, local plans, outline applications, reserve matters, discharge of conditions, everything's just been frozen.
All of these decisions that have to be made to push homes through the planning process, and none of them can be made, and that's what's leading to this.
Yeah.
Okay. So does the government accept that these figures are accurate?
Well, we approached them, but they declined to comment specifically on the matter. And instead gave us a general statement. A government spokesman told us that we want to protect the environment and deal with the buildup of nutrient pollution while building the homes this country needs. While house building is not the primary cause of nutrient buildup, we want to introduce measures quickly to allow development to move forward.
Okay, so I guess they're saying that they're going to try and solve the problem, that increased nutrient pollution isn't a good idea, house building is a good idea, and they want to find an answer, but they haven't got one yet, I guess.
Pretty much.
Well, one other thing I'm slightly confused by in all this is that obviously this problem, as you say, there's been a sort of an earlier group that has been affected by this for a couple of years. And we produced quite a lot of coverage maybe a year or so ago about methods that have been found to mitigate this problem. So largely, I think, by reducing nutrient output in other parts of the authorities concerned, so that effectively that cancelled out the increase created by the house building. And the method that was advised by Natural England to do that was challenged in the courts, but survived that challenge. I'd been under the impression that this problem was on the way to being solved, but it doesn't sound like it.
you can buy a farm and send all your nitrates over there type thing, a bit like the carbon offsetting.
Exactly. By not farming it anymore and not putting any more fertilizer on it, exactly.
Yeah, that's what they had previously. I don't know how it affects these new areas.
No, it's interesting. But it doesn't sound like they were, whatever's been done before, and whether there have been some successful mitigation methods used in some places. It sounds like there's certainly not a comprehensive answer as yet.
A whole bunch of idle farmers waiting to offset.
Yes. And then the chief planner, Joanna Averley, has said that the government is considering updating national planning guidance to address the nitrates issue, I understand.
Yeah, she wrote to all local authorities to say that this was very much on their mind, and they could even potentially look at sort of how this impacts 5-year housing land supply.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that.